Good morning, everyone. It's 10:05, and I think we should start. Thank you all for coming and attending this webinar. It's nice to see many participants. My name is Tsering. I am the one of the associate director here at FCJ Refugee Center. I oversee mainly the settlement area, which includes housing, women's program, primary clinic, and anti-human trafficking team. And today, our webinar is it's on the housing challenges that we can discuss towards the end. When we finish the webinar, we can have a chat or we can discuss. I will take questions. If you have any questions, you can also write your questions on, there's a button Q&A where you can write your question, and towards the end of webinar, I will try to answer them. And today's webinar is housing is a very broad topic. So this webinar is solely more the intended client will be the newcomer, the ones who are newly arrived in Canada, and to share a little bit of knowledge about how and where about to look for housing. And it's a very basic information for this session. So who we are, FCJ Refugee Center, we are a nonprofit organization. We serve refugees and others at risk due to immigration status. We welcome anyone asking for advice, counsel, and support regarding these issues and any other issues. If we are able to support, we do. If we're not, we refer to other organizations wherever appropriate. So far, more than 5,000 people, that number has increased a lot, has contact our center every year seeking assistance, not only from Canada, from around the world as well. And we have served people from more than 110 countries. So basically housing, there are many types of housing. When a newcomer arrives to Canada, and when they say they're looking for housing, one is the immediate, the short-term housing, which is as soon as you arrive in Canada, you need a place to stay. So basically there are refugees shelter, which are quite at max capacity at the moment. However, there is always a way. So first thing is to find a shelter. Once you are in a shelter, and then to come out of shelter, where and how you can look for housing search. So I would like to mention that in every shelter, there are a worker who can support you and who can help you with the housing search. However, it's not guaranteed. It's again depend on each and every shelter. So the first thing is you need to know what type of housing you're looking for, and the budget. You need to set a budget for there, and then you need to know where and how you are going to search, and to later view the apartment, the rental application, signing the rental contract, moving support. So these are the basic topics that I'm going to touch for this webinar. So when to start? As a refugee claimant in Toronto, the first two priorities for you and your family are the immigration, to filling up all the forms and getting it submitted within the time frame, and then finding a permanent housing. Housing searches are very challenging and it takes time. So it's important that you start as soon as you are able to. Once you finish your immigration matter, I believe that will take the first 30 to 45 days to set your the immigration matter. And then you should go about for looking for housing. And when you're ready to start looking for an apartment, then you should connect with the housing worker for more information and support. Like I said, in each shelter, there are housing workers who are able to help you with that. So what types of housing you will encounter here? Rental rooms, which is also called the houses with the rooms, rooming houses, which is single room and or a shared space, like a living room, kitchen, bathroom, those are shared space, which is a little bit, this is more so cheapest kind of accommodation, and also most affordable option for single adult. This is for single adult only who are on social assistance. We will have a look at the social assistance allowance later on. So that's the cheapest accommodation. And then the rental rooms, which are usually large homes divided into private rooms. So let's say in the house, there are 5 rooms. So each room is occupied by a different single adult. And then there's another thing, apartment. Those apartments are the buildings that they usually have a bachelor unit, which is one space where you have kitchen, your living room, your bedroom, and the bathroom, which is quite large. It's bigger than a rooming house, and also you don't share with those with the other people. Bachelor unit and studio are more so similar. Again, there are slight difference depending on the house and the apartment. And then there are 1 bedrooms, 1 bedroom, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms in the apartments. So the prices for the rental, excuse me. The things that affect the price are the size of the apartment, the location, where it is located, and the distance from the public transit or to the school, if it's nearby school, if it's just next to the transit, if it's next to subway. Those things are all those things all together affect the price of the apartment as well. So it is important you set a budget before you start looking. So like I said, location, school and services, those things are the one that affect the price. So if you don't have a young child or children, maybe you can, if you drive or if you can walk, then you can go a little bit further away from the school and services area, so it again, it will affect the rent as well. The other options is if you are open to moving out of Toronto, because sometimes the housing outside the city, outside the Toronto, a little more affordable. I would say, before we used to say like in Mississauga, Brampton, or going further east, Pickering, Oshawa, those are a little bit, as you go further away from city, it's a little bit cheaper. However, the housing prices are increasing at a very alarming rate in this country. So it's affecting every city. However, if you are open to moving out of Toronto, yes, there is, the rents are a little bit cheaper outside. So the first thing about the housing is like you have to set a budget. Like I said, if there's someone who just arrived to country and it's been here only 2-3 months, and some of you may not have the refugee ID, which is the brown ID we call brown paper. So if you don't have that, you don't have a work permit. So it is difficult if you want to go to school and study, or if you want to look for a house, or if you want to, if you want to have to look for a work so that you are able to pay the rent. So those are all the things that you have to think about when you set a budget. How much do you need for food a month? How much do you think you will spend on transportation a month? And the other expenses like phone, internet. So you have to set budget for all those, and then you have to see how much you can afford for rent. Always check the rent amount listed, sorry, it's not listed, it's listed on the advertisement, as they vary when you call the landlord. So if you see a bachelor unit 900, it's very important you call the landlord and confirm how much is the rent before you actually go there, because maybe you're looking for that price range, and when you go and see the landlord, the price will be changed, right? So it's important you always check ahead of time. So sometimes what the rent includes utilities, and sometimes things like water, electricity, internet, those comes at extra costs that you need to pay aside from the rent. So it's always important you ask for these details before applying for an apartment. So these are the numbers. These are what you are eligible to receive once you come to Canada and you claim refugee. And then in the meantime, you look for a work or you are unemployed, you can be on a social assistance. And these are the range. For example, if you are a single person, you're a single adult, the maximum you can receive is 733, and the couple is 1,136, and so on and so forth. So where and how to search? You always, if you have a friends and relatives in Canada or in Toronto or in any city where you live, it's always good to ask them first, because sometimes if they are in an apartment, if they are living in an apartment already, they have a relationship with the super who's the building, the property manager at the apartment. Sometimes you know that if there are vacancy coming up, if your friends and relatives are there in the building already, they will be able to speak or advocate on your behalf, right? The other thing is you can always look for a section of a newspaper, online listing. I have heard that there are, there are newspaper in different languages where they also advertise the rental place. Or simply you go to the areas where you are interested in living. For example, it's good once you come to Toronto, or it's good if you check and know a little bit about the areas, whether you want to be in the north, you want to be in the south, you want to be east, west, it's important to look the areas. Excuse me. And see where you are interested in living, and then go around, look, because there are many landlords who don't post their rental property or the apartment online. Sometimes you can just find outside their property. Some of the things that you have to be very cautious in your search is there are many false advertisements of apartment out there. Some listings are not really available for rent, so it's important if you're looking online to make sure that you get the contact number and call and ask ahead. Because what happens is that many management team from the apartments or they don't update the listing quite often, so that leads to a false advertisement when they say it's available, and when you go there it's not. If someone is asking you for deposit money without offering you a lease of viewing, without offering you a lease, be very cautious, because this could be a spam, and it happens quite often here with the newcomers. When we are not aware of how the housing search and how to go about. If you see something on the, let's say on a Kijiji, and you like that price, you like the place, and then you email them and say you are interested in this, when can you see? And then the person will respond, oh, this is this, blah, blah, blah. And then when you ask for appointment, when you can go and see it, and then the person might say, oh, I'm out of country, the property is there, we cannot meet, and you can deposit the money, and then you will have this, start giving details. So be very careful, because those are not really like, it's not possible, to have some rental like that. And never to transfer money before you even have a look at a property or look at the house or apartment and have the rental agreement or the lease in your hand and the keys, so you have to be very careful about all those small details. Remember, most of apartment buildings in Toronto are managed by companies. So therefore, you do not contact, you don't contact the management, the companies, you contact the person who is looking after that building, which here normally we call them super. The property manager. So that's the person who you need to call. In every building, in every apartment, there is on the first floor, there is a small office for a rental, like a rental agency. That's where you have to contact. So what happens after the search? You found a place, what next? So when you find something you are interested in, you call the number listed and ask for an appointment to go and see the apartment or see the place. So when you have so the super give you an appointment, okay, come today at 9 a.m. Be on time, you cannot be late. Always look for directions ahead and be there on time. Be polite and respectful. There are probably a lot of people looking at the apartment, and I guarantee you there are a lot of people looking at the same apartment. So it's important to maintain that good impression. Make sure you always bring someone with you if you're new or if you're not aware of the location, or if you are going to see something, a place which is like aloof, or, it's always good to bring someone with you. And once you are touring the apartment, ask if you can take pictures so that you can plan it out, or you can show it to your other family members who were not able, who were not present at the viewing. Ask to test doors, light switches, the toilet flush, electrical outlet. Check everything if possible. Ask if you can check. And after you finish viewing the unit, you can ask for what is included in the rent and if there are any extra costs that may apply. So if you find a place where you want to live, for example, I think it's not only specified to apartments, in any place. If you find a place that interests you, you need to fill out an application. Usually, normally what happens with the apartments building, they have the application forms ready. However, the landlords, the houses, they may, depending on the landlord, if they are aware of the rental application or not. If they don't have, it's always good to go Google and Google the rental application. You will get the rental application, which is according to the to the LTB here. So you will get a standard rental application. It's important you fill that out, have your landlord sign, have you sign, so that you have a proof. And every application is slightly different, as I said, but they have the standard application. All that they will ask is your personal information, such as your name, family members, how many family members will be staying with you. So those will be as an occupants. And then they will ask about your finance, which is your source of income. They do ask about the work history in Canada. Have you worked? Where? And some may also require a deposit at the time of application. So what are some of the required documents? When you go for rental application, here they ask for documents such as your ID. This may be a requirement, but they are not allowed to ask about your immigration status. They can ask for your ID, but they're not supposed to ask your immigration status. And what is your proof of income? If you are on Ontario Works, you can, every month you receive a Ontario Works statement. Excuse me. Or if you're employed, you can ask your employer for a letter. Sometimes what happened with the newcomers is due to lack of all the requirements. They may ask you to provide a guarantor who can sign. So guarantor has the same responsibility as you as a tenant, because if you are not able to pay a rent on time, or if you are behind, or if you don't pay rent, the guarantor will be equally responsible. So that's why if you have a guarantee, if they ask for a guarantor, that you may likely get the apartment, because it's looking for the options and seeking a guarantor on your behalf. So someone who signs a lease with you, confirm rent payment will be made. So that will include you, and if you have a guarantor, and the guarantor as well. Landlords may ask you for other documents, but you do not need to provide them, such as your social insurance number, bank statements. Those are you are not allowed to provide. You have a right not to provide them. Excuse me. So some of the information a landlord can ask you is your income, if you're working, the number of people living in the unit, and the names, and if you smoke or have animals. What are the information that landlord cannot ask you is your age, your sexual orientation, what is your immigration status, your religion, your health status, such as if you're pregnant. Those are things landlord cannot ask you. So signing the lease. When the landlord has approved your application, you will need to sign a contract or a lease. And agreement, the lease is an agreement with the landlord that you will pay rent and utilities if needed, if applicable, on time and in full amount, first of every month. The lease should also outline what is your monthly cost, and what are the responsibilities, rights and responsibilities of the tenant as well as landlord. And the lease should also outline the length of agreement. These are very important things, and you have to pay attention when you are signing the lease. Normally, a lease runs for 1 year. However, there are other contracts, other rental contracts, which can go from month to month. So that depends with the landlord. So it is very important, regardless of what kind of lease you are signing, what kind of rental agreement you are signing, it is important that you have the rental agreement, and you must have those responsibilities, rights and responsibilities of yourself and the landlord. So if any issues or concern arise, you can always look back, and you have the proof. So let's say if 1 year pass, and after you rent, and you are okay with the unit, you want to continue staying there, you don't need to sign another lease. The lease continues automatically. When signing the lease or a rental agreement, do not sign anything that you do not understand. Read the contract or have someone explain it to you so you understand each and everything that's written on that, many pages. The lease is usually, it has like 10 to 15 pages, depending on the landlord, depending on the application. So make sure you understand what you're signing for. Do not hesitate to ask questions, get a copy of signed contract, and always make sure to get rent receipts. That's a proof that the landlord has received your payment. So what happens after lease signing is, if you're on Ontario Works, you should immediately contact your caseworker and request a housing stabilization fund. Now, many of the newcomer are not aware of this HSF, so it's important you should ask your worker what are the benefits and what are the, usually when you sign for the Ontario, when you start receiving the social assistance, you have you will be given all those information, the rights and responsibilities of being on the social assistance. So one of that is to request for the housing stabilization fund. It's not as straightforward as it looks. So it's very important you ask your worker before you start renting to receive the housing stabilization fund. That fund is to help you pay the last month rent. The first month is paid every month, so that will be a support to pay for the last month rent. Also, that can be used as to get a furniture for your new apartment. So once you sign lease, you focus on those things, focus on moving arrangements. If you need furniture, look for a furniture bank. The furniture banks need a referral. So check for the organization who can help you with the furniture banks. A settlement organization may be able to schedule an appointment for you at the furniture bank, dependent. So because since it works only by referral, you have to check with each organization who can help you with the furniture bank. So Housing Stabilization Fund is the fund that you can receive from social assistance, which include last month rents, moving, if you have any rental arrears, support, etc. So it's not just limited to the last month rent. So these are the amount that you may be entitled to receiving the Housing Stabilization Fund. Now we are moving further away from the housing search. So we spoke about the rental and in the private rentals. Now we have here a subsidized housing in the city of Toronto, which is very popular amongst the newcomer because it's a subsidized, the rents are much cheaper. However, there's a long wait list for that, and subsidized housing, anyone can apply for that if you have a legal status here in Canada. So remember that if you're doing a subsidized housing application, the wait time for now it's I would say more than 10 years. However, it doesn't hurt to do the application now when you arrive here as a refugee. It doesn't hurt, you know. So you need to show your legal status for that application. So these are the documents that you needed. Refugee claimants are included also. So these are some of the eligibility. How do you apply? Now that they have made it online, it's pretty easy and straightforward. You can do an online application, and you need to have all the information. Make sure that you keep your information, your address, your phone number, all your contact information updated with them, because you never know when you will receive a call. So it's important that you keep your information updated every year online. So when you rent a place, you always have rights and responsibilities, and it's important that you pay attention to these because some of the problems or concern we can avoid just by knowing what your rights and responsibilities are. So as a tenant, you have both rights and your responsibility. You are responsible for paying your rent on time every month. It's important that you pay the rent first of every month. When you pay second of every month or third, delay by a day or two, that can accumulate, and that accumulation of a late payment can go against you if the landlord wants to evict you. So that can be one evidence as well. And to keep your unit clean and free of damage. It is one of the responsibility we have here is keeping noise levels low to respect the other tenants in the building. And in each building, you have a different different ways to taking out the garbage, compost, recycle. You know, if you have to take it outside your apartment, of course you have to take it outside your apartment, but some you may have to go all the way outside the building, or some they may have those chute, you know, on each level. So that depends on the building as well. Your landlord is responsible for general repairs and the maintenance of the building. So if there is any repair that you needed for your apartment, it is important that you fill out a work plan, usually in every rental place in the just outside their office, the rental office, they have those forms. If you need a maintenance, you need to fill out a form. So it's important you check out those things and to report them so that the landlord can get a repair. Your landlord is responsible for providing all utilities at all times, which includes water, electricity, and heat. Your landlord cannot enter your apartment without advance notice or without your permission. And your landlord can request deposit or fees for last month rent, key replacement, or checks that have not been approved by the bank. Tenant rights and responsibilities. Landlord responsibilities may differ in certain circumstances, such as when the landlord lives at the same address and you're sharing the apartment and only one person is named on the lease, the rights and responsibilities do change a little bit. So moving out here, if you want to move out of a place, if you rent a place or if you rent an apartment, you must give 60 days notice to your landlord. However, there are exceptions, but there are very few exceptions. So if you need to go out before 60 days, you can give us 60 days and you have to move out. You may have to pay that month, which you will not live there as well. So again, if there are exceptions, you can always check it out with the landlord. Also, you can check the landlord and tenant board of what are the exceptions to that. So these are some of the common websites where you can check for a rental place here in Toronto. You can also check, nowadays I see many on the Facebook Marketplace. And is there a Kijiji here? Oh, the Kijiji is one of the famous. However, be careful and beware of the scams. So these are some of the common websites for rentals. So housing and the housing related benefit. We talk about the subsidized housing, the application through the housing connection, which you have to, which you have to make. Nowadays it's online application. And rent banks, if you are behind rent, again, for the rent bank eligibility, you need a legal status here in Canada. And if you're on Ontario Works, it's not applicable for you. So that's why I say eligibility criteria applies. You must live in Toronto. You pay market rent for rental unit covered by the Residential Tenancies Act. And you fall the income within the low income household eligibility requirements. And currently those are the rent banks. Currently not receiving a social assistance. So those are some of the housing related benefits. Residents in receipt of a social, so if you're receiving social assistance, you can always call your caseworker and check if you qualify for any housing related benefit. And with this, we come to an end for this webinar. We have a ready tour, which is to prepare you for a hearing, for refugee hearing. You can register on our website if you're interested. It's a very good idea to get familiar with how your hearing will be in future when you have it, or you can contact my colleague Carolina. For the registration, you have to send your name, where you're from, and if you have a refugee hearing date. This is my email address. If you have any questions, any concerns, you can always email me or you can call me. My extension is 229. And I'll be more than happy to support you. So what we can do is, if you have any questions, I can take the questions. Or if you have any comments, we can open the floor for everyone. Let us know. And I hope you learned something from this webinar. It's a very basic information on housing.
Thank you so much. I'm actually not a refugee or immigrant. I'm just an immigration consultant. Plus, I work with the settlement assistance and family social services. So I got the email and I attended it. It is very informative. I got a lot of notes, of course. It's good to know that there are people that we can refer to. It's really nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
By the way, my name is Razi. I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself.
No problem. Thank you, Razi.
You're welcome.
Carolina, do you have any announcement or anything you want to share?
Maybe just to mention about the webinar that we have next week on March 2nd about the library resources for refugee claimants and non-status people. We are organizing this on March 2nd. It's a Wednesday, if I'm not wrong. And you can get more familiar with the library resources, the new services that they have, how to get your library card if you don't have an ID, to learn about the free online programs, support for refugee claimants in document searching. This is a new service also that they have, and it's really interesting because they have access to magazines and newspapers from 100 countries in 60 languages. Also, they have programs like Live Daily Tutoring Help for Children and Youth from 2 to 11 p.m. So after school, they provide support to children and youth. So it's a lot of information. You are welcome to attend on March 2nd, and we will have also a simultaneous interpretation in the languages that you need. So you are free. If you are a service provider, you are welcome to refer clients. Thank you.
So if we don't have any questions, then we can conclude our webinar. And in future, we will do more webinar on housing, probably with the settlement workers, to talk about the challenges. In that way, we can bring more of advocacy work. Thank you all for attending today's webinar, and you all have a good day.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Tsering.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a nice day.
Bye.